The alarm screamed through the command center before anyone saw the ship. It tore through Earth's atmosphere like a wounded animal, trailing plasma and debris, its hull glowing white-hot from uncontrolled re-entry. Queen Helena stood at the observation window of the orbital station, her jaw tight as the alien vessel spiraled toward the emergency landing zone outside New Geneva. "Your Majesty, the Kethran ambassador is requesting immediate audience," her aide said, voice tense. Helena didn't turn from the window. "Send him in." The door hissed open and Ambassador Thrace stumbled through, his usual composure shattered. The tall, silver-skinned alien's forearms trembled as he approached. "Queen Helena, I beg you. Princess Velara is aboard that ship. She's been poisoned, attacked by her own guards during a diplomatic mission. Our medical facilities cannot save her. We have exhausted every resource." "Pfft, then why come to us?" Thrace's large, dark eyes met hers with desperate intensity. "Because human medicine is different. Your species approaches healing with a creativity, a refusal to accept impossibility that we lack. Our physicians follow protocols perfected over millennia, but the poison used on Velara is designed to defeat those protocols. We need someone who thinks beyond the rules." Helena's eyes narrowed. "You're asking us to save the heir to an empire that has barely acknowledged our existence for 20 years. "I'm asking you to save a life," Thrace said quietly, "and perhaps prevent a war. If Velara dies while in human territory, there are factions in our military who will use it as justification for retaliation. They want this war, Your Majesty. They engineered this assassination for exactly that purpose." The Queen's expression didn't change, but her fingers tightened on the railing. She understood political traps when she saw them. "Get Dr. Amara Johnson from the medical complex. Tell her to bring her full trauma team. And, Ambassador, your princess better survive, because if this is a setup, your empire will learn exactly how creative humans can be when we're angry." 20 minutes later, Dr. Amara Johnson stood in the emergency medical bay, staring at what barely qualified as a patient. Princess Velara lay on the examination table, her skin shifting between deep purple and sickly gray. She had 6 limbs, 2 more than humans, and her skeletal structure seemed to shift under her translucent skin. Crystalline formations grew along her spine, pulsing with faint bioluminescence that flickered like a dying star. "Vitals?" Amara asked, not taking her eyes off the princess. "Unknown," her lead nurse Derek replied. "Our equipment can't get consistent readings. Whatever passes for blood in her species is registering temperatures that should be impossible. Her breathing is erratic. Brain activity shows patterns we've never documented." Amara leaned closer, studying the black veins spreading from a wound in Velara's chest. The poisoned blade had struck deep, and the toxin was clearly designed for Kethran biology specifically. It moved through the princess's system with terrible efficiency, shutting down organs Amara couldn't even identify yet. "Time to biological failure?" she asked. A Kethran physician stood nearby, his expression grim. 6 hours, perhaps less. The poison attacks her neural cluster first, then cascade failure of her primary circulatory system. There is no antidote. We have tried everything in our medical database. Amara straightened, her mind already racing through possibilities. "That's your problem. You're looking for an antidote. I'm looking for a solution." She turned to her team. "Start mapping her biology. I need to know what every organ does, how her systems interact, what's essential and what's redundant. We're going to approach this like we would a human patient with massive trauma and unknown toxicology. Dr. Johnson," the Kethran physician said carefully. "With respect, you cannot simply apply human medical theory to a Kethran. Our biology is fundamentally different." "Good," Amara said, pulling on surgical gloves. "That means the poison was designed for Kethran biology, not human medical intervention. We're the variable it wasn't built to handle." She looked at Derek. "Get me a full spectral analysis of that toxin. I want to know its molecular structure, how it bonds, what it targets, and someone get Queen Helena on the line. I need authorization to use experimental procedures." Outside the medical bay, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. 3 Kethran warships had entered orbit, their weapons systems active but not locked. The message was clear: save the princess or face consequences. Helena stood in the command center, watching the alien vessels with calculated calm. "They're positioning for a blockade," her military advisor said. "If this goes wrong—" "It won't," Helena interrupted. "Amara Johnson has saved more impossible cases than anyone in human history. She once kept a man alive for 6 hours after his heart was destroyed, using manual circulation and sheer stubbornness. If anyone can do this, it's her. And if she can't," Helena's expression hardened, "then we make sure the galaxy knows humans tried everything to save a life, while the Kethran military used their own princess as bait for a war. We're recording everything. Every procedure, every attempt, every word spoken. If they want to paint us as villains, they'll have to explain the evidence." In the medical bay, Amara was wrist-deep in the most challenging case of her career. The spectral analysis had revealed something interesting. The poison wasn't just destroying Velara's organs, it was rewriting her cellular structure at a molecular level, turning her own biology against her. Standard detoxification would fail because the poison had already integrated into her cells. "We can't remove it," Amara said, studying the data streaming across her screens. "It's too deeply embedded. But we might be able to reprogram it." Derek looked at her like she'd lost her mind. "Reprogram a poison?" "That's not medicine, that's science fiction. It's gene therapy," Amara corrected. "Humans have been doing it for decades. We use modified viruses to rewrite genetic code all the time. The poison is doing the same thing, just destructively. If we can identify the mechanism it's using and introduce a counteragent that hijacks that same pathway, we might be able to turn the poison into a carrier for corrective genetic instructions instead." The Kethran physician stepped forward, his forearms gesturing in what Amara had learned was their species' expression of shock. "That is, no Kethran doctor would ever attempt such a thing. The risk of catastrophic failure is 100% if we do nothing." Amara cut him off. "Your princess has maybe 4 hours left. I'm not asking permission from your medical establishment. I'm telling you what I'm going to do." She turned to her team. "Derek, synthesize a viral vector using the toxin's own bonding proteins. I need it to target the same cells but carry instructions to halt the cascade and begin cellular repair. Maria, prep the princess for direct genetic injection. We're gonna flood her system with the counteragent and pray her biology can adapt fast enough." "Amara," Derek said quietly, "if this goes wrong, you could kill her in minutes instead of hours." "I know," Amara said, meeting his eyes, "but going slow and cautious will definitely kill her. Being bold and desperate might save her. That's the choice." She began the most delicate work of her life, synthesizing a counteragent from scratch while her patient's body continued its steady march toward death. The toxin had been brilliantly designed, she had to admit. Whoever created it understood Kethran biology intimately, but they didn't understand human medical improvisation, the willingness to try the untested, to combine techniques from different fields, to refuse the limitations of established practice. 3 hours into the procedure, Velara's condition suddenly worsened. Her bioluminescent spine went dark, and her breathing stopped entirely. "Alarms!" shrieked through the medical bay. "She's crashing!" Derek shouted. Amara's hands moved with practiced precision, injecting stimulants directly into what she'd identified as Velara's primary cardiac organ. "Come on, princess. Don't you dare die on me. Not when we're this close." The Kethran physician reached out as if to stop her. "Dr. V. Johnson, her neural activity has ceased. By our medical standards, she is already... By human standards, she's still fighting," Amara snapped. "And human standards say you don't give up until every option is exhausted." She turned to Maria. "Hit her with the full counteragent dose. All of it, right now. We're out of time for careful titration." Maria hesitated for only a second before following the order. The synthesized viral vector flooded into Velara's system, and for a terrible moment, nothing happened. The monitors continued their flat, screaming alarm. The Kethran physician bowed his head, beginning what Amara recognized as a death prayer. Then Velara's spine flared with light, brighter than before, pulsing in rapid waves. Her chest heaved with a massive, shuddering breath. The monitors exploded with activity as her biology roared back to life, fighting, adapting, surviving. I'll be damned, Derek whispered. It's working. The counteragent is spreading through her system. The toxin is breaking down. Amara allowed herself one moment of relief before focusing again. She's not saved yet. That was just the crisis point. Now we need to stabilize her and repair the damage the poison already did. Derek, prep for regenerative surgery. We're going to manually reconstruct her damaged organs using her own cellular material guided by the counteragent. The next 4 hours were a blur of precision work, of watching alien tissue respond to human medical techniques, of seeing Velara's body slowly knit itself back together under Amara's guidance. The Kethran physician watched in silent amazement as procedures his people would never have attempted proved successful one after another. Finally, as the first light of dawn broke over New Geneva, Amara stepped back from the table. Velara's vital signs had stabilized. Her bioluminescent spine pulsed with steady, healthy light. The black veins of poison had faded to nothing. She's going to live, Amara said, exhaustion making her voice rough. She'll need recovery time and we'll need to monitor for complications, but the crisis is over. The Kethran physician approached the table, his forearms trembling as he scanned his princess with his own medical equipment. This is impossible. The poison was designed to be absolutely lethal. No Kethran could have survived this. Yet you, a human who had never even seen our species' internal biology before today, you saved her life. I had good motivation, Amara said dryly. Several warships in orbit tend to focus the mind. But before anyone could respond, the medical bay doors exploded inward. 4 figures in Kethran military armor stormed in, weapons raised, the lead soldier's eyes fixed on Velara's unconscious form with cold hatred. Step away from the princess, he commanded. Derek moved to block them, but Amara grabbed his arm. She recognized a death squad when she saw one. These weren't here to rescue Velara. They were here to finish what the poison had started. You're the ones who poisoned her, Amara said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. You want her dead so you can blame humanity and start your war. The lead soldier's weapon shifted to point at Amara's chest. The princess was a weakness, too sympathetic to lesser species like yours. Her death will be the spark that burns your world. And you, Doctor, will be remembered as the human who failed to save her, who murdered the heir to the Kethran Empire with your primitive medicine. Except I didn't fail, Amara said. She's alive. Your plan is already over. Then we'll correct that mistake, the soldier said, his finger tightening on the trigger. The shot never came. Queen Helena's voice cut through the tension like a blade. I wouldn't do that. Every screen in the medical bay came to life simultaneously, showing Helena's face from the command center. You're being broadcast live to every Kethran ship in orbit, to your Empire's council, and to the Galactic Assembly. Every word you just spoke has been recorded and transmitted. The galaxy now knows who really tried to kill Princess Velara and why. The soldier's weapon wavered. Around him, his squad looked uncertain, realizing their conspiracy had just been exposed to the entire galaxy. You have one chance to surrender, Helena continued. Drop your weapons, submit to arrest and face trial. Or try to complete your mission and prove to everyone watching that the Kethran military is willing to murder their own princess to start a war. Choose quickly. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then, slowly, the lead soldier lowered his weapon. The others followed suit. Human security forces flooded into the medical bay, securing the conspirators with efficient precision. Amara let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Nice timing, Your Majesty. Helena's image smiled faintly. We've been tracking those 4 since they left their ship. When they moved on the medical bay, we knew we had them. Dr. Johnson, you saved more than a life today. You prevented a war. Good. 3 days later, Princess Velara opened her eyes to find herself in a recovery room filled with soft light. Dr. Amara Johnson sat beside her bed, reviewing medical charts with the kind of focused intensity that suggested she'd barely slept. You're awake, Amara said, setting down her tablet. How do you feel? Velara's voice was weak but clear, like I died and someone dragged me back. Was that you? Mostly, Amara admitted. Your biology helped. Turns out Kethrans have impressive regenerative capacity once you stop the thing that's killing them. Velara studied the human woman with her large, dark eyes. I remember pieces, the pain, the certainty of death. And then your voice, refusing to let me go. My own physicians had given up, but you didn't. Giving up isn't really in my nature, Amara said. Drives my staff crazy sometimes. I owe you my life, Velara said formally, and my people owe humanity an apology and a debt. The conspirators have been arrested. The military faction that supported them is being purged. My father, the Emperor, has sent official thanks to Queen Helena and has requested a formal alliance between our peoples. Amara smiled. That's above my pay grade. I just fix people. You do more than that, Velara said quietly. You showed the galaxy something important. The Kethran Empire is ancient, powerful, proud. We believed ourselves superior in all things. But you took an impossible situation, one our best minds declared hopeless, and you solved it through sheer determination and creativity. You didn't have better technology or deeper knowledge. You had something we had forgotten. The refusal to accept that some lives cannot be saved. She reached out with one slender hand, and Amara took it carefully. That is humanity's true strength, Dr. Johnson. Not your weapons, not your growing fleets, but your stubborn insistence that there is always a way forward, always a solution if you're willing to think beyond the rules. That is what makes you dangerous to tyrants and invaluable to friends. Amara felt unexpected emotion tighten her throat. Oh, when you put it that way, I guess almost dying was worth it for the compliment. Velara's laugh was soft but genuine. I suspect we will be friends for many years, you and I. And our peoples as well. The conspiracy wanted war, but instead they gave us alliance. Sometimes the greatest victories come from the darkest moments. 6 months later, the Galactic Assembly formally recognized humanity as a full-member species, sponsored by the Kethran Empire. The vote was not unanimous. Some species still viewed humans as dangerous upstarts, but it was decisive. And when the vote was announced, Princess Velara stood beside Queen Helena, both leaders showing the galaxy that humanity had earned its place not through conquest, but through compassion. Dr. Amara Johnson watched the ceremony from Earth, from the same medical bay where she'd fought for Velara's life. She had refused all medals and accolades, insisting she'd only done her job. But in the quiet moments, she allowed herself to feel pride. Not in personal glory, but in what humanity had proven. They had faced an impossible test, a scenario designed to end in failure and war. And they had won by doing what humans did best, refusing to give up, thinking creatively and fighting with everything they had to save a life, no matter the cost, no matter the odds, no matter what the established rules said was impossible. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy, not superior strength or advanced technology, but the stubborn, irrational, beautiful refusal to accept defeat when lives hung in the balance. In the days and years that followed, that lesson spread through the galaxy like ripples on water. Other species began adopting human medical techniques, human problem-solving approaches, human determination. The rigid protocols that had governed galactic civilization for millennia started to crack, allowing room for innovation and hope. And it all began with one doctor, one impossible patient, and the simple human conviction that no life was beyond saving if you were brave enough to try. The Kethran Empire had come to Earth seeking a miracle. What they found was something better, proof that miracles could be made real through skill, courage, and the refusal to surrender to inevitability. That discovery changed everything. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not with a roar of conquest, but with a steady hand and a healer's vow, to fight for every life, to challenge every impossibility, and to never, ever give up. That was the message that echoed through the stars, carried by Princess Velara's survival and Amara's triumph. And the galaxy, for all its ancient wisdom and powerful empires, had to admit that it had underestimated the newest species to reach the stars. The humans had arrived, and they brought with them something the galaxy desperately needed. Hope that the impossible was just another problem waiting to be solved.